It begins with a silence, a profound, unsettling quiet that settles over the land. For 4 centuries, this island was Britannia, a vibrant, bustling province on the very edge of the Roman world. Then, the voices fade, the letters stop, and the great machine of empire grinds to a halt. What happened? How does a civilization just disappear? This isn't a story of a dramatic, fiery collapse. It's the story of a slow fade, a gradual letting go, and the haunting silence left behind. Today, we see the remnants scattered across the British landscape. The straight, unwavering lines of Roman roads, still shaping our modern roots. The skeletal remains of villas, their mosaic floors hinting at a life of luxury and order. Hadrian's Wall, a scar across the north, a testament to a world defined by borders and military might. These aren't just ruins. They are echoes of a lost world, a time when Britain was connected to a global superpower, stretching from the mists of Scotland to the sands of Mesopotamia. A world of towns, of trade, of law, of Latin. And then it was gone. Let's rewind. Before the eagles of Rome landed, this island was a patchwork of Celtic tribes. They were skilled metalworkers, fierce warriors, and deeply spiritual people. But in 43 AD, the Emperor Claudius, seeking military glory, launched a full-scale invasion. 4 legions, around 20,000 men, landed on the shores of Kent. It was a clash of worlds. The Roman war machine was relentless, professional, and brutally efficient. Against the courageous but disorganized tribal resistance, the result was inevitable. Within a few decades, Roman control was established over most of modern-day England and Wales. And so, the Romanization of Britain began. It was a project of incredible ambition. Towns like Londinium, Camulodunum, and Verulamium sprung up, laid out in the classic grid pattern. They had forums, basilicas, public baths, and amphitheaters. Aqueducts carried fresh water for miles. Underfloor heating, a luxury we'd envy today, warmed the villas of the wealthy elite. A new Romano-British culture emerged. Locals adopted Roman dress, Roman customs, and the Latin language. For the upper classes, becoming Rungung was a path to power and prestige. For many others, it was simply the new reality. For almost 400 years, to be civilized was to be Romang. But beneath this veneer of stability, there were hidden weaknesses. Britannia was an expensive province right on the frontier. It required a massive military presence, typically 3 legions plus auxiliaries, just to keep the peace and guard the northern border. This huge garrison was a constant drain on the empire's resources and manpower. Furthermore, the British economy was largely agrarian, and while it exported grain, wool, and metals, it never became a major economic powerhouse like Egypt or Gaul. It was, in many ways, a strategic outpost rather than a core territory. This peripheral status would prove to be its undoing. The first signs of trouble began to appear in the 3rd century. The Romang Empire entered a period of crisis, plagued by civil wars, economic instability, and barbarian incursions along its vast borders. This chaos had a direct impact on Britain. Usurpers would often rise up on the island, taking the British legions with them to make a bid for the imperial throne in Rome. A fatal pattern was established. A crisis on the continent would lead to a withdrawal of troops from Britain. The island would be left vulnerable, its defenses weakened. Then, when a semblance of order was restored, the troops might return, but often in smaller numbers. Each cycle left Britain a little more exposed, a little more isolated. By the late 4th century, the decay was accelerating. Raids by Picts from the north, Scots from Ireland, and Saxons from across the North Sea became more frequent and more devastating. The Roman economy, once the engine of prosperity, was faltering. Inflation was rampant, and the complex system of trade that supplied villas with wine from Gaul and pottery from Africa began to break down. The towns, those symbols of Roman order, started to shrink. public buildings fell into disrepair. People began to abandon the urban centers, retreating to more defensible, self-sufficient farmsteads. The grand mosaic of Roman life was starting to fray at the edges, thread by thread. The final act came in the year 410 AD. The gods were sacking the city of Rome itself. The empire, fighting for its very survival, was in no position to send help to its distant northwestern province. The Romano-British elites had sent a desperate plea for aid to the Emperor Honorius. His reply was stark and unequivocal. Look to your own defenses. It wasn't a declaration of abandonment, but a pragmatic admission of reality. The legions were gone for good. The umbilical cord that had connected Britain to the heart of the empire for 4 centuries was finally irrevocably severed. Rome's final farewell wasn't a grand pronouncement. It was a quiet, desperate message sent across a sea of chaos. What followed was not an immediate plunge into darkness. The world after Rome didn't end overnight. For a generation or two, people tried to carry on. Town councils still met, villas were still occupied, and some semblance of Roman administration likely continued on a local level. But without the army to enforce order and the imperial bureaucracy to collect taxes and maintain infrastructure, the system slowly crumbled. Coins stopped circulating. The specialized industries, like the mass production pottery kilns, ceased operation. The technical skills needed to maintain aqueducts or hypocaust systems were lost. Society fractured, reverting back to a more localized tribal structure led by regional strongmen or tyrants, as one contemporary writer called them. Into this power vacuum came new peoples. Angles, Saxons, and Jutes from northern Germany and Denmark began to arrive, first as mercenaries, then as settlers, and finally as conquerors. The Romano-British, whom we can now start to call the Welsh, were pushed west into the mountains of Wales and the peninsula of Cornwall. The story of this period is shrouded in myth, the era of figures like Vortigern and the legendary Arthur, a Romano-British leader said to have fought a valiant but ultimately doomed rearguard action against the invaders. The silence from the written record is deafening. History gives way to archaeology and legend. The great silence had fallen. The Latin-speaking, centrally governed, urbanized world of Roman Britain was gone. In its place arose a mosaic of Anglo-Saxon petty kingdoms, a world of timber halls and heroic poetry. The stone cities of the Romans were abandoned, seen by the newcomers as the eerie work of giants. This wasn't a swift conquest, but a slow, piecemeal transformation over generations. And it is this slowness, this gradual fade, that makes the end of Roman Britain so fascinating. It didn't fall, it just dissolved. It's a powerful reminder that civilization is a fragile, complex system. It doesn't always end with a bang. Sometimes it just quietly slips away, leaving behind only ruins and echoes in the silence. Thank you so much for joining me on this journey back in time. If you found this story of the slow fade of a civilization as compelling as I do, please hit that like button and subscribe for more deep dives into the past. Let me know in the comments what part of this story surprised you the most. Until next time, stay curious.